So a lot of people don't want to come to the realization and the understanding that the fact that we are at war every single fucking day. Like, and when people would typically hear that, they think of the physical wars that are going on around the world, destroying countries, destroying cities, and just overall destroying the consciousness of, humanity. But I am not talking about physical wars, because physical wars is something, but in my personal opinion, what's way worse that nobody else is talking about is the psychological wars that we are at every single fucking day. Because psychological warfare is a real thing that nobody wants to talk about or discuss about, even though it's so much more important. And also, excuse me for like the head towel. I'm trying to dry my hair right now. I just got out of the shower. But you don't have to be enlisted into the Navy or the military to go to war. Dude, we are at war every single moment in our lives, and we don't realize or understand it at all. People are literally trying to go to war with you every single day through small psychological hacks and small psychological tricks, but because our awareness is not great enough to understand these things, we fall for them. And I'm gonna give a couple of examples of what I mean, right? So, a lot of people don't really understand or realize that you should never be dependent on anyone too much. Like, you can rely on people, but when you start to depend on them too much, it's very dangerous. It's like a double-edged sword, and let me explain why. Because when you rely on them too much, you're essentially psychologically telling them that you're dependent on them and that you're their bitch, and they know and understand that. So what they decide to do is they like to slip in small jokes that will make them realize or make you realize that you are their bitch, and they know that. And by the moment you've already realized, it's already too late, because you've already been checkmated already. People are trying to go at war with you every single day, and this is why it's so important to understand psychology and how it works, and ultimately understanding how psychology can be used against you every single day. Listen, bro, there's gonna be a lot of individuals that come in your way, trying to annoy you, just trying to rage bait you and piss you off. But once they realize they can't really fuck with you physically, because you're not falling for their bullshit, they're going to do so psychologically in small ways that you won't really notice. And you have to pay attention to these things. This is what I like to call psychological manipulation, when people actually psychologically manipulate you into doing something that you don't want to do. Like, let me give an example. Let's just say, because there's good psychological manipulation and also bad psychological manipulation. But, specifically talking about the bad psychological manipulation that people use against other individuals on a daily basis without them really realizing it, right? So I'm gonna just say, like, let's say, I had a group of friends and I saw you and, I told you, hey, you are a bitch if you don't decide to hang out with us. Now, what I'm doing is I'm psychologically essentially kind of like forcing you to hang out with us, because in your mind, you don't want to be looked at as a bitch to others. That's essentially a small example of psychological manipulation, bad psychological manipulation at least. And we got to be careful of these things, because a lot of people, once they realize that they can't fuck with you physically, they start to do so psychologically in small ways, small increment ways that you won't really notice. But because you rely on social validations from others or the other individuals that you shouldn't be around, but you're doing it because you're essentially acting in fear. Like, what if I lose them? Who will I have to talk to? You do it anyways, because even though it doesn't align with you or the person that you are, you still do it anyways, because you're essentially just afraid of losing these people, even though that these individuals are holding you back from receiving your blessings. Like I said before, there's also good psychological manipulation, and the best person, well, not the best, but essentially like a really good example I could use for what good psychological manipulation is this person named Andrew Tate. Like, I'm pretty sure we all know who he is. I don't have to go in depth about who he is. But essentially, I know a lot of people don't like him, but dude, you're going to notice that if you study psychology, you're going to notice that through the way that he talks, he actually psychologically forces people into changing their lives for the overall better by calling them, hey, you are a brokey. Like, literally tell them in their face, you're a slave, you're broke, you're just poor. You know what I mean? And a lot of people think that, he's cool for saying these things, but because they don't understand psychology, they don't understand that he's saying these things to psychologically force you into becoming a better version of yourself financially, physically, and also mentally as well. And he also likes to make fun of people that work, average slave day jobs. And a lot of people don't really realize this is good psychological manipulation. What he is doing it's good psychological manipulation, because what this is going to do to the person that's working that fits his description is it's going to make them look at their situation and be like, because some won't even be open-minded to the fact that, you know, they're working a job that they don't like, that they just overall hate their lives. But some will actually be open to the idea that I need to actually change my life for the fucking better. I can't do this shit. Like, I got a whole future and a whole life ahead of me. And ultimately, I think he's like a really good example for trying to understand what good psychological manipulation is, because of the fact that he's always saying things that will always, or not even, just even the way his humor is. Like, he likes to make fun of people that are broke, that are, you know, living your average day-to-day 9 to 5. He's always making fun of these people because it's gonna spark a change inside of their mind to actually do something and to take action against their current situation. Literally psychologically forcing somebody to be the better version of themselves. Like, everybody wants to hate on him and tell him he's a bad person, but a lot of people don't look into psychology and actually see how he's actually changing lives for the better just through simple, good psychological manipulation. But it's ultimately just about understanding that you are at war every single day, bro. I'm not just talking about physical war. It is war on so many different planes of existence, including the psychological one. People are using psychological hacks, tricks, and also psychological manipulation against you every single day, but it's your job to have to raise your awareness on it, to know how to counter it, and to also see through all the bullshit. But yeah, y'all, so I hope y'all enjoyed, but I'm gonna end the video off that, and that's King Wannis, and I'm out.